I was asked to say a few words about ARCHway, and I was asked to say a few words about Percy. And I don't, when people ask me about ARCHway and Percy, number one question I get is, how did you meet Percy? And so this is a story that I will not tell on the radio, because it's probably politically incorrect and I'll probably get yelled at, but I can tell it amongst friends. So it was about, 13, 14 years ago. I'm a radio guy, and radio guys are pretty independent. And we sort of book our own shows, and the producers work for us, and it's all on us. But in television, you have producers that sort of do their own thing, and then they come to you and tell you what's coming on. So I was hosting a show on Charter called Get Hooked on Health, and I sit down, and the producers say, we have a gentleman who was going to talk about addiction. Okay, well, I don't really need to do any research on that. The guy runs some kind of recovery center. So we sit down on the couch, and this strange-looking Indian man sits down. And I say, hi, nice to meet you. He's very, very, very polite. And 3, 2, 1, you're on. Welcome, everybody. We have this gentleman. His name Percy Menzies. The man looks Indian, but he has a Spanish surname. So let's see how this is going to go. So we start talking, and he starts talking, and I have absolutely no idea what he's saying because it's such a thick accent. And the segment was supposed to go maybe 3 or 4 minutes. 10 minutes into the conversation, I'm like, okay, wait a minute, hold on a second. Are you yes, I have this heroin addiction. It's coming like a freight train. No one will listen to me, no one will understand this. I have this drug, I know. I was blown away. So 10 minutes into this conversation, they're yelling in my earpiece. We blew the whole segment, we blew the whole show, but I learned something valuable that day. So about 2.5, 3 years later, I'm working at KTRS Radio, and a salesman comes up to me and he says, we would like for you, would you have any interest in being a spokesman for a recovery facility? And I said, I'm honored, thank you very much, but no. And I got up and I walked out. So about 2 or 3 days later, the salesperson comes with the sales manager, and they sit me down again, and they say, would you be interested in, we really would like for you to be a spokesman for this addiction facility. And I said, oh, wow, I'm really flattered again, thank you very much, but no, thank you. I gotta go, so on. So about a week or so later, anyone who knows Tim Dorsey, who owns the radio station, you really don't say no to Tim Dorsey. He's one of those guys that he will sell ice to an Eskimo. So they bring in the general manager, Tim Dorsey, they bring in the sales manager, and they bring in the salesperson. And they said, look, it's like one of those Godfather moments when they come to you and they put their hand on the shoulder and like, we really want you to do this. So I stood up and I said, look, there's only one guy I will do commercials for. I don't know his name. He's got a thick Indian accent, but this guy's figured out the whole addiction game. And they said, that's the guy we want you to do the commercials for. So that was 10 years or so ago, 8 years ago or so. And so we've had a relationship with ARCHway ever since. And one of the things, talking to some of you this morning or tonight, there's a common theme with all of us tonight. And that is that I suspect that every single one of us never thought we would be in a room like this, hosting and helping a fundraiser like this, being associated with an organization like this. But Percy never thought he would be in this. I know there are parents and children and loved ones who are here supporting loved ones and parents and children who would never in a million years say, I'm going to an organization to help raise funds to help people fight heroin addiction. And look at how far we have come. From 13 years ago, Percy was talking on an obscure cable network to some guy who'd never heard of him before, to now heroin addiction is a major conversation in the presidential campaign. So he predicted it, he called it, and unfortunately he was right. We don't know, we can't solve all the problems, but the fact that they have opened up a charitable wing of ARCHway is a testament to the organization, it's a testament to people who run it. And I am thrilled and honored to be asked to help. And I have always told Percy and Sunil that, all they have to do is ask, and I'll be happy to do whatever they need. So I'm thrilled you're all here, and we're gonna have some fun, we're gonna raise some money. So without further ado, I know you guys are hungry, we're gonna get to dinner in a second, but I'd like to have John Stuckey come up here and say a couple words. John, come on up. I met John and his wife, they were on a show a couple years ago, and they told their story, warts and all, on the radio show, and they didn't hold anything back. And I know that they helped save people's lives that day. So the more we talk about it, and the more we get it out of the shadows and have conversations about it, and don't be shy and don't be embarrassed, because that's when the drug wins. And this man should be very honored of his struggle and his fight and his story. So, ladies and gentlemen, John Stuckey.
Good evening, everybody. My name is John, as you just heard. I'm the executive director of ARCHway. I want to thank everybody for coming out here tonight. We got plenty of space up here, so thanks for everyone for coming out here. I wanted to thank everyone that helped put this event together. I'm in recovery myself. I've got 3.5 years off of an opiate addiction. Thank you. And the reason why I say that is because this is a disease, and part of this stigma that needs to be broken is people being able, like you said, to come out here and talk about their issues and talk about their struggles and be able to break that stigma, because it's preventing a lot of people from getting the help that is needed and being able to open up to their loved ones and families and be able to discuss this thing at an open table. This disease is treated unlike no other disease that is out there. When people are struggling with cancer or diabetes, there's sympathy for them, there's help for them. When it comes to addiction, if you're struggling with your disease, you're considered weak. You're kicked out of your houses, you're shunned from the communities, you're put in jail. And the number one question when it comes to this disease is, how much money do you have? People would think that, there's funding available for people with these struggles, and, it's just not the case. The conversation tends to be, how much money do you have, and how much are you willing to put towards your loved one's life in order to get them the help that is necessary. And, in my eyes, that's an unacceptable, form of treatment. It should be based around what is the best form of treatment for this individual, and the money and the funding will figure itself out. The reason why we're here tonight is to help fund recovery. Every penny that you donate tonight, every dollar that is raised at this event will go towards helping individuals who are struggling with dual diagnosis, addiction, get into treatment. You see little flyers that are out there that show the different dollar amounts on how much your money can help. Even $100, help pay for someone's medications. I mean, this is these are the conversations I've had with families and people over the last 3 years of my recovery. I've worked in the field, working with ARCHway, working in the recovery houses. And the conversation, it's extremely sad, because it is not about, what do they need and how they need it. It's about how much money do you have and how much money are you willing to put towards this problem. because of that stigma, it's not looked at appropriately. It says, figure it out yourself, if you want to do this, you'll take yourself off this, this is, it is a disease and it needs to be looked at as such. And, events like this, people like you guys getting out here and getting involved, breaks that stigma. This is not going to happen internally. This is going to be an external thing. Society as a whole needs to change their views on this. And, that's the only way this epidemic, is going to end, is by everyone as a community coming together and helping each other, in this process, families too. But yeah, it's exciting. This is our 3rd annual ARCHway event. It's great to see a lot of familiar faces. It's great to see the new faces. It's great to see some of the new organizations that we're working with, some of the treatment centers that we work with. The contributions that we've gotten thus far has been, outstanding. I can't tell you how grateful the families and the individuals that are getting the assistance from us through ARCHway's funding, how appreciative they are and how much of a difference that it has made in their recoveries. With the help of, my dad, chairman of the board, Percy, Sunil, Phil, Donna, who else am I missing? Jeff, Ann, Dave, yeah, everyone that's, contributed to helping grow ARCHway. We're now growing to, multiple states. Our name is finally getting out there, and, we're getting recognized for the work we're doing. So, I just want to get up here and say thanks for everyone for being here tonight. We really appreciate your support, and it's going to be a great evening. We got a band this year. We got Rob here. We got Phil Tracy. But it is it's exciting. I wish everyone could see all the work and things that ARCHway has done over the years. We got about 10 different events going on in all different states. We got a number of treatment centers that we're teaming up with. But the nice thing is that with events like this, we're able to raise enough money, and you have no idea how much your dollar assists people that are in true need of it. And how much of a difference it makes on whether someone can get medications or can meet their deductible to get into treatment. This is a great opportunity for people to fund recovery. And as far as I know, we're the only ones really doing it. There's not many other organizations out there that are willing to take on this burden. It is a huge expense. It's great to see that ARCHway is getting to a point that we can finally, get ourselves out there and truly help people in mass numbers. And we're getting there. So thanks for coming up here tonight. Thanks everyone. We got a great meal coming for you. We got some great silent auction items that will still be going on for the next hour. We got some awesome live auction items that we're going to be doing at the end of the night. So don't try to sneak out of here. We're going to lock the doors here in a little bit. Can't lose any more people. Sunil's going to do a dance at the end.
I'll get you going.
So, anyways, everyone, enjoy your night. Thanks for coming out here, and we truly appreciate your ongoing support. And talk to you guys later.
Sunil will not be dancing. We want you to stay. And watch out for those Long Island boys, those Tracy boys. Those guys are trouble. I want to just reiterate one more thing John said. All of the money raised tonight, every single nickel, every single dime, will go to ARCHway. Every single nickel will stay right here. So enjoy dinner, and we'll be back shortly with tonight's presentation. Dan Stuckey, the CEO, the chairman of the board of ARCHway, is going to come up a little bit later on and talk. He stopped by our table at dinner, and he has a message that I think is wonderful and one in which we should embrace. and that is that we need to talk about our experiences. We need to get this disease out of the shadows. We need to not be ashamed. We need to talk about it because I think all of us, in some way or another, are touched by this. Percy said 1 in 3 families are dealing with this. Think about that for a second. 1 in 3 families are dealing with some type of addiction to heroin. Think about that for a second. And think of what the news media covers. If there's an accident on the highway, and God forbid 1 person dies, 6 news vans are there within 15 minutes. But 1 in 3 families are dealing with this, and no one likes to talk about it. So it's a secret that we need to tell and we need to keep telling. ARCHway is it's really somebody who has sort of watched this organization grow from the beginning. It's amazing to me. It's really the St. Louis way when you think about it, because St. Louis and all the places I've lived is a town that gives back, right? We're lucky enough to have come out the other side. Whether we were lucky or not lucky, we need to give back, and that is the St. Louis way. And for those of us who are not born here in St. Louis and who have come to make St. Louis our adopted hometown, it really is rooted in that, and that's one of the reasons why I was so honored and asked to be a part of this tonight. So let me step aside. Let me bring people up here who have been helped out by ARCHway, and we're going to have a couple of individuals come up and just give a brief sort of story about how they got here, why they're here, and tell a little bit about their story. Because the more we talk about it, the more good we do. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Brian Seavey. Come on up.
Good evening, family. My name is Brian, and I'm an addict. Hello. My drug of choice is alcohol, but in that career of abusing drugs and alcohol, I tried many things, and I'm so grateful to stand here today. This is my first time at this dinner, and I've recently been asked to join the board, which has been a wonderful experience with really wonderful people. But this cause has been close to me, not just through my recovery, but as I recover and as I do other ministries around St. Louis, I just see more and more families suffering alone with this. So I'm so glad that you're here tonight to be with us. A little bit about my story is I'm from South City. I grew up a hard partying boy and moved to Chicago and found even better and more efficient ways to be a hard partying boy. And I thought it wasn't showing in my life. And the reality was I was trying to commit suicide by party life and by street life. And I hated waking up every morning. And I was furious with God. I couldn't pray. I mean, I literally woke up every day furious that I had to go through another day in pain. And so then I would begin to medicate to try and put an end to that or how to get through it. And luckily some people who loved me saw it and they got me into rehab. And I began several years of working on a 12-step program, working on my recovery, but I just did not put all my pieces together very well. And I moved back home here from Chicago, and I hoped that that would help. And actually, I fell back into some habits that were not great, and I found myself out of control again. And at that point, I recognized it, and I got myself into treatment. And 3 different things happened that time that I think are responsible for the fact that I now have several years clean and sober. Those things are, first of all, in treatment, I was lucky to have a doctor who explained to me how each and every drug works on our body. And he also explained to me how the medicines that he was giving me would help me in combating that. And prior to that time, I had never heard of naltrexone. but that was what was prescribed to me. And even then, I didn't realize that that was what was helping me make that recovery so much better at that time. Because not only were my cravings for alcohol not as strong and other drugs, but also I had a clarity, I had a sense of hope and a sense of purpose. And so I think getting that information and just being fortunate by dumb luck that that doctor prescribed naltrexone for me were two of the three things that were key to my recovery. And then the final piece was in recovery, I'm a very hard-headed guy, and not a lot of things scare me. And like most of us who had done a lot of hard partying and street living, and but there was one counselor that was always yelling at me, telling me I was conceited. And I would just giggle, and I'd say, Lou, you don't scare me, you can quit yelling. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think my clothes are better than yours, or I didn't come from a nice place, I'm not conceited, I don't think I'm better than you. And he said to me, he said, yeah, but you do, because you think you're always right. You think you have it figured out, that your way is the only way. And you're never going to get sober until you get that out of your head. And so it was only because of that that I agreed to go live in recovery housing. And when I did that, I discovered a place called Temperance House. And I was interviewed by the two guys that were living there at the time. One of them was John Stuckey. And I was just extremely impressed with John, and I moved in, and it was a big change for me. It was a great experience. And through my rehab and my recovery living, I met so many guys dealing, especially with opiate addiction. And I saw their struggle, and I saw some of them were using old methods of treatment for this addiction. And I saw them not doing well. I saw them relapsing. But we continued to learn more and more. I learned about ARCHway, I learned about the Vivitrol shot, and as I recovered in my recovery, I lost many of those guys. I saw them. When I was living there, John was starting this great nonprofit. He was selling coffee and tea, and I was highly impressed. I had no money to buy any of it at the time. And I remember not long before I moved out, John getting all dressed up one night to come to some real nice dinner. And so I think those were the beginnings of this organization. And so what I have seen, the sadness continues because so few people know there's help. And what really is hard is that a lot of people seek treatment in places that don't use this scientifically tested, medically assisted recovery that we use. And that if we could get the word out about what we can do, and that people do recover, that you don't have to just chronically relapse and worse, right? But that people do recover. So the hope of this organization, the mission of this organization, so that people are educated, and especially that we can help those who don't have access to this treatment. That's why I'm here tonight, and that's why I'm grateful to all of you. Thank you very much.
Something Brian said, it stuck with me because I had a heroin addict on the show not too long ago. She was 20 years old, and she told a horrific story about how she was getting high in the Kirkwood High bathrooms while she was in high school. And I knew I was going to host this event, and I asked her, I said, why did you, she came from a prominent family in St. Louis, and she said she had an idyllic childhood, and she was given everything she ever needed, and I said, why didn't you rehab and ARCHway or something? And she said it was cheaper to get high. She said, I didn't have any money. I didn't have any money to go to rehab. And I thought to myself, wow, that is really scary. And so that's why ARCHway is needed, because there are people who want to, who can't. And our next speaker is somebody who's benefited from the money raised by this organization. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chris Ray. Come on up.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chris Ray, and I'm a recovering addict. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight to help support ARCHway and recovery. Your contributions and support has and will continue to aid many addicts still suffering. I grew up here in St. Louis. I was raised by two extremely loving and caring parents and was given many opportunities and privileges that other kids do not receive. I was very active in sports. I achieved good grades and had a good group of friends. Even though I had so many blessings, I always felt a void in my life. And at the age of 16, I discovered drugs and alcohol. Through drugs and alcohol, I gained popularity, and with popularity, I gained self-confidence. My drug and alcohol use began recreationally and soon progressed to everyday use. And drugs and alcohol sent me down a very destructive path. I ruined relationships with my family and my friends. I was arrested several times for drug-related offenses. I was unable to take care of my finances or myself. I became unemployable and eventually homeless. Through all this, I created an insurmountable amount of debt due to several factors. Obviously, my inability to maintain employment, legal issues, numerous treatments, and my general inability to pay bills. Upon being successfully discharged from inpatient treatment from URA in January of 2015, I was in dire need of financial assistance. I was unable to return to my parents' homes due to them disassociating themselves from me because of my using and my behaviors associated with my using patterns. So I entered sober living, requiring me to pay rent. My medical assisted treatment plan at the time included Vivitrol, a very expensive injection. The financial stress that I was experiencing was overwhelming. And through ARCHway and the available funds, the financial stress was relieved, allowing me to focus on my recovery. Now, I am gainfully employed, my personal relationships have been mended, and I've developed a solid foundation in my recovery. I manage a sober house and help other struggling addicts. I owe much of my success to ARCHway, the foundation, and the funds available. Thank you. The lie is dead. We do recover. Thank you very much.
Let's hear from somebody who was on the front lines. Sherry Donnie. Sherry, come on up.
Hello, everybody. Excuse my voice. Do not normally sound like this, but whatever this is. I am Sherry Doney. I'm an advanced practice nurse, and I have had the privilege and the honor of working at Assisted Recovery Centers of America with Percy and Judy Menzies and Sunil Menzies as well, and John Stuckey, and I know Chris Ray and many others who are affiliated with ARCA. And like I said, I've been truly blessed to have this opportunity because until about a year ago, I've been a nurse for 41 years, and I've been an advanced practice nurse for about 14, but up until a year ago, I didn't work in substance abuse. I worked primarily in psychiatry. So when this opportunity presented itself, and this is something that I've been interested in for a long time, I was pretty green, didn't know that much about recovery and the hope, and I knew a lot about the heroin epidemic that was out there, obviously, as we all do, because I've worked with patients for many years. But as a provider, I see things in a little bit different way than those of you that are here and those of you that are in recovery. I thought I would share some of the things that I see. Number one, as we all know, access to health care in this country is very, very difficult for people to achieve, regardless of whatever the disease is that they may be experiencing due to income issues or other kinds of barriers. when addiction is a part of the equation, people do not have access to care because of many other factors. First of all, they aren't able to work because they're so engrossed in their habit of acquiring drugs and continuing to be in that vicious circle, and our job is to help them get out of that. One thing I have learned is that there is, as you know too, it's a disease state and it's an epidemic. And the CD says it is the worst epidemic that our country has seen in over 30 years. 30 years. We're talking about other epidemics, polio, and very many other things. So it's really, as you know, a huge issue. I see people for ARCHway in 3 locations, one in downtown St. Louis, and the clients that I see there quite often are homeless. They are referred to us through the Salvation Army inpatient program and through other community agencies. They live on the streets, they do not have a job, they do not have income, and many of them are assisted financially through ARCHway in order to come and receive the services that we provide. I cannot tell you how many people I've talked to who have had me in tears by their success stories as a result of coming to see us and receiving the services that we provide. A woman recently told me that she had a baby 6 months ago, and the baby was taken away from her shortly after birth because she was using heroin during her pregnancy. And she had 3 other children that were also removed from her custody. Since she started seeing us and started working on her recovery, she's been clean, she's been receiving the Vivitrol, and she's getting a call forward of her children back within the next month. There is hope, there is recovery, and people will survive with the help of us that are willing to put forth the time, the effort, and most importantly, the money to help pay for people's treatments because they can't do it for themselves. As I've been saying, funding is a huge barrier to treatment. Even people that have insurance can't always afford the treatment because of high deductibles and co-pays and things of that nature. And so how do we bridge that gap? And that's where this foundation comes in. So I just want to share with you that this past year has been truly an unbelievable and unforgettable experience in my lifetime. It's something that has changed me forever, and I do appreciate and am forever grateful to the Menzies for this opportunity and for knowing people such as John Stuckey, who I work with very closely and frequently, and hearing his stories and the work he does for the Recovery House and Project Hope. And John, you're an inspiration to me, and I just am so honored to know you as well. And I could go on, but I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
We already have a live auction item. We have a couple of auction items, and we also have some silent auction items up there as well. We're going to keep the tables open a little bit longer, but you're going to get some good deals tonight. So check the tables before you leave. And on a side note, I'm going to give you a little presentation, a little preview of one of the live auction items. You're going to have a chance to join me on my radio show on Big 550 KTRS. And if Glover and Jamie Ullman's package goes for more than my package, I'm going to be very angry, okay? I am going to be very, very angry. The man whose dream it was to start this organization, ARCHway, the man who's been through quite a bit, came out the other side, and is now the chairman of the board of the ARCHway Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Mr. Dan Stuckey. And John, I think you should come and take a picture of him as he's speaking, right? show him how annoying that is.
Just bring the check. Okay, is there a flicker? There you go. No clicker. So, I want to talk with this group about a couple things. One is how a few people can make a huge difference. 3 years ago, I mean, you look around the room, the question is, are you discouraged or are you encouraged? 1 out of 3 families are dealing with this. 9 out of 10 people that want help are turned away in the U.S. 9 out of 10 people who want help from an addiction disease in the U.S. are told no. Is that acceptable? Who thinks that's acceptable in the greatest country in the world? 9 out of 10 people are turned away. It's unacceptable. Now, encouraged or discouraged about the group? I'm a glass half full person. 3 years ago, a group this size, maybe some short-termers would come. 3 years ago, ARCHway started based on John's vision. And let's talk about the story. 5 years of taking. 5 years of taking with his addiction. He met the Menzies. We met the Menzies after 5 years. He got on the Vivitrol shot. He had a week of clarity and had a vision of helping others. Creating a business, taking the profits and helping the people on the streets of St. Louis who wanted help. Those 9 out of 10 people who are crying for help on the streets of St. Louis, and he wanted to give them money to get help. Now, the funny story, he says, Dad, if it weren't for you, I'd be dead. If it weren't for your money, I'd be dead. It's unacceptable. 9 out of 10 people don't have the same resource John had. I love John. Jan loves John, but that's unacceptable. This group, 9 years ago, or 3 years ago, when John's dream started, the first year we raised $15,000. Year 2, we raised $90,000, and we're in 3 states. This year, our goal, and we are on target to raise $150,000, and we're going to be in 7 states. Look at this group. Don't be discouraged. This is what started it. We are meeting families all over the country that have lived the nightmare, both sides of the nightmare. Our story is, we lived the nightmare, John's alive, and is a great addition to the human race and community and helping. We have met other families who have lost loved ones, and the only difference, I hate to say it, is luck or money. It's unacceptable. So, where are we today? We believe in recovery from the addiction, the disease of addiction. We are in partnering with lots of other small groups. Most of the time we're partnering with groups that have lost a loved one. But that's not all. We're partnering with people that are living and successful in their recovery. And you can see that. And you can see those organizations we're already working with. If you can go to the next slide, you have donated lots of money to lots of different organizations in seven states. Now, here's the debate we have. We have the debate at ARCHway all the time. which is bigger? We have two goals. Raise money and help somebody who wants to get in recovery, but is that 9 out of 10 people that are turned away? Or is it to change and try and change the stigma associated with the addiction disease? It's a tough call. In the end, though, the money's important. Changing the stigma is even more important. It is, if we're going to make a landslide change in our country, that it's unacceptable that 9 out of 10 are being turned away for two reasons: lack of beds. How come we don't have the health centers to help people? Or lack of money. So the second one is, with that drives me insane, is we have friends that say, really, you're having a golf outing, how come my $300 check is going to make a difference? It really, and I say, one person's life, $300, one person's life could make a difference. And they say, how can that be? You have three groups. John talks about it to me all the time. If you have insurance and you have money, you're in. If you have insurance and you burnt every bridge and you can't pay your deductible, you're out. $200 is the difference between getting a bed or not a bed. If you have no insurance and no money, I don't know. The folks that know the business better than me, but it's unacceptable. So, we are making huge headway. That's all I can tell you. We're making huge headway. You might get discouraged. I'm so encouraged. You hear the discussions in the political arena. You hear people talking about it, but the thing people don't talk about, and I think the big stigma is, that people are successfully in recovery, and they are in huge places making huge contributions to our society. And we don't acknowledge those folks enough. We heard a number of them tonight. And it's not a choice, it is a disease, and all we really have to do is put the support system around them. We've got to quit incarcerating our way through this. 80%. I've talked to the sheriff and the police chief in Florida, and he says, you know what our biggest mental institution in the state of Florida is? State penitentiary. It's unacceptable. He says we have got to quit incarcerating and we have to start providing treatment. And you know what? It's time for us as citizens of the U.S. to stand up and say it's unacceptable that the overprescription of Oxycontin, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable that there's not enough treatment centers for 1 out of 10 people with addiction disease. It's unacceptable that 9 out of 10 people that want help are turned away in this country. It's unacceptable that in the U.S. we represent 5% of the world population and use 80% of the prescription drugs. It's unacceptable. And you know who's going to make a difference? Everybody in this room. And if you don't think one person can make a difference, I have one last story. And it's the town Jan and I live in Punta Gorda, in Charlotte County, Florida. One lady down there lost her son to heroin. She went to the police chief and said, unacceptable. I couldn't get treatment. I'm one of the 9 out of 10 that nobody wanted to help. The county agreed that if, in that county, based on her pressuring them, that if you go to the sheriff and turn in your drugs and turn yourself in and ask for help, you will not be arrested, and the city, the county, will pay for you to be in a recovery center, in a medically assisted recovery center. Awesome. The county did not know how to pay for it. What happens next? ARCHway is coming in. We're running a golf outing and a silent auction and lunch. All the money we're raising is going to pay for those people that turn themselves in and ask for help. Folks, that's why you're here. We need your help. $1 does make a difference. We don't need hundreds of thousands of dollars. We need